Hey, I think we're live. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. My name is Andy Jenkins. Hopefully you know me. And of course, this is the wonderful and beautiful Mr. Mike Filsaime. Thank you for joining us very much on this session. And what you need to know is we have an awesome session planned for you today. So that you can get the most benefit out of this, there's a couple things that we recommend that you do while you're attending this presentation. So Mike has got these down. He's got them tattooed to his back of his
Yeah,
head.
this involves your current Webinarjam account, and so there's some really important things that you want to pay attention to today. So by all means, put your phone on Do Not Disturb, shut off Skype, and maybe get some notes out because there's some really cool things that we're pretty sure you're going to be very excited about today.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about them. Yeah, it's going to be cool. And wait until you get to the, well, I don't want to ruin it. Okay.
Yeah, I almost think too, so here we go.
All right, we're going to go to the slides, so no more banter. Guys, the goal of today's session is to revolutionize the most profitable channel of your company's marketing strategy. I think probably that slide means that you know where this is going. There is something new coming, and what you're going to see and what you're going to get is just going to blow your mind. So let's talk about how we're going to do this. How are we going to get you there? Now, in order to move forward, I'm a big believer in looking back at history and looking back at track records in order to determine where maybe optimizations could be made, but where huge opportunities exist. And so that's what we did. We actually went to the tape and we looked back at what Webinarjam was all about. So Mike, what do we find there?
Well, in December of 2013, Webinarjam reinvented what most people think of as a webinar. Before Webinarjam, your typical old-fashioned webinar had flipbook quality slides, and that's not a good thing.
No, I mean, and this is important to understand because I think some people don't get this. This isn't about design. This is about our leading competitor in the webinar space. They transmit at 5 frames per second, which is actually half as fast as old school cartoons used to be broadcast. We're talking about Looney Tunes way back in the day. And what is classified as full motion video, which is something you guys already know that Webinarjam does, is at least 24 frames per second. So when we say flipbook quality, it looks more like, you know, that thing that you'd flip at the bottom and the dude would be kind of running.
Yeah,
and
they even recommend that you don't use animations like sliding in bullets and stuff like that.
Right.
Basically, they want to limit you to everything to what's called appear.
Appear.
It just shows up. And if you notice what we're doing, we have lots of transitions in
There's
our slides.
us moving.
Yeah.
Look at my hair.
And great animations in what our team does for us with these beautiful slides. And so that
was an old school thing.
Yeah.
And Webinarjam addressed that. And also the next thing was that AM quality radio voice. You know, anytime you sign into a webinar and somebody's talking on a telephone, you're like, dude, really? Is that the best way you do? Go and get a USB headset and make it sound good.
Yeah, and even worse, some of the people were using VoIP and some were on the phone. So sometimes you'd have a decent quality sounding presenter, and then the other presenter or host sounded like he was talking out of a tin can.
Coming from Istanbul. It's a very beautiful place. No offense against
They just use
Istanbul.
tin cans.
Right, but maybe some of the biggest sins are things like the DOS level designed landing pages. I mean, really, we expect people to opt in and register for a webinar when it looks like something that the ENIAC computer that had vacuum tubes spit out.
I've seen better designs from Craigslist.
And then when they get there, they've got this thing.
Antique style user face. The user interface is just, it's bland. It looks like it was designed 20 years ago, just like the DOS style landing pages. Yes, It had a closed proprietary download required for every attendee, so every single person that wants to join a webinar has to click download to use the app, and sometimes I've seen that download get stuck behind the browser and then people don't even know it's there.
They don't even know it's there. Yeah, that's right. No video playback support. Obviously, I'm a big fan of video, even though I don't always like to be on it. Today's a bad hair day, but I'll muddle through it. But even more important, no community engagement. You think you've got chat, you don't. Basically, they're typing something in, and it goes to you, not anybody else. So as far as they're concerned, they could be sitting in a vacuum. It could be like a 2-person webinar.
And if you're lucky enough to remember to record your video, Well, all you got back was an antiquated video encoding. You didn't get any quality back when you did, if you were lucky enough to remember.
The voices got where stuff looked bad. You had to have a special piece of software to convert it to something you could put on your web page because they had some weird proprietary codec. And look, that's the thing is that we all know we like to use webinars for marketing. And so how can you do that when you don't have any follow-up mechanisms? Meaning you don't have a system to publish, you don't have a system to email based on what the user does. Well, look, I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here, but the fact is that Webinarjam changed all that. Even back in 2013, Webinarjam's innovative technology was so profound that people stopped calling them webinars because webinars were seminars on the web, and even that kind of sounds boring. But instead, with all this new rich multimedia experience that Webinarjam brought to the table, people started calling them jam sessions, which we love. And honestly, that should say TM because we're trying our best to do that.
TM.
So just last year, Webinarjam has surpassed some incredible milestones. And when Mike shared these with me, I was like, wow, dude, we might be cool.
Yeah, check this out. 17,237 Webinarjam users just last year. We're pretty proud of that.
Yeah, that's a pretty awesome growth.
And those users, they gave 87,221 webinars. Those webinars had 176,291 webinar replays.
But here's the cool thing,
yeah,
right?
This is the best number.
This is like we feel like we're part of something awesome, even though it wasn't us, but you know, I don't know, we facilitated it.
28,346,825 people attended a webinar that was hosted by Webinarjam.
So we don't even have to prove to you that Webinarjam's growth and impact has been extraordinary, because it has. And people are still coming to Webinarjam and switching from other webinar services every single day. And here's one of the reasons why. We're very proud of what our users are doing. In fact, one of our recent Webinarjam powered webinars, this wasn't us, but this was one of our users, they had 8,100 attendees, 8,100 attendees, not registrants.
In the live room.
In the live room, that's right. 8,100 people seeing that at the same time. And that's just profound, man, because before, in order to have that kind of reach, you had to duct tape together 8 of the competitors' services, and good luck on making that work. Or you had to use proprietary expense. In fact, one of our good friends, they did a webinar with just 7,000 people, and it ended up costing him $18,000.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so here's the deal. That's actually history. We're very proud of that history, that short history, but let's talk about where we are today. So here in 2015, we're going to take with you the biggest leap since the original Webinarjam. And we like to think that Webinarjam is reinventing webinars
again.
So today, guys, we are so proud to introduce to you our latest innovation. And remember, we thought Webinarjam was a disruptive innovation. We think that this is just going to take us to the next level.
And we're calling it Webinarjam Studio.
Yeah!
Now this is a, we're excited.
I am, I'm like,
yeah, we're excited to show you. Wait till you see what's coming up next. This is where it gets exciting.
Well, so here's the thing about Webinarjam Studio. This isn't a little tweak or a little, 2.0 thing. This is a totally new application. It's 100% new, optimized, and bulletproof code library. That means that it was rewritten from the ground up to take advantage of some of the latest leaps in technology when it comes to object-based. Well, I don't want to get too geeky. If you're a geek, you know what the Laravel library is. Go look that up. You know we made the right decision.
We're proud. This is on the latest technology that
that's right.
That coders are happy about. So, as Andy said, it's designed from the ground up for the best possible user experience.
And that was the thing. We looked at some of those bad DOS pages and the interfaces and stuff, and we're just like, how do you know? How do you know what to do? No analytics. So this one really put a focus on the end user.
Yeah, and from 2 categories. Number one, when you log in to create your webinars, the admin, everything to use it is
awesome.
beautiful.
And you'll see that, guys. We're going to show that to you.
Customer-facing stuff, and this is one of those things where our customers have customers. So we made sure that the experience that your customers get when they're registering for a webinar, what happens between the webinar and when they show up, and how their replays look, everything is absolutely gorgeous.
We are so totally jumping ahead here. We apologize. Okay, we're focused. Let's get up. We're just excited. The fact is, there's a lot of breakthrough marketing, conversion, and traffic technologies to boost your webinar profit. And we're going to share them with you guys. The fact is, there are actually hundreds of features in Webinarjam Studio, and many of them you can't find on any other platform on the planet. This was not about us building a better mousetrap. This was about us building the cat.
Yeah, now we couldn't say that before with Webinarjam. It might have had a couple of cool little features, but Webinarjam Studio has stuff that you can't find anywhere, including the original Webinarjam.
So today we're going to cover 6 of them with you. And what you want to know and what you need to know is that these breakthrough features will in fact develop because of extensive and deep collaboration, hey, with our users and our top customers who are pushing the envelope, who are getting 8,100 people on a webinar, who are doing 50 webinars in as little as 3 months. We talked to those people so we could figure out how to make their job easier and get them better results. So ultimately, our biggest goal was this.
For Webinarjam Studio users is to give you the most control you've ever had over everything having to do with your webinars.
That's right, and we mean cradle to grave. That means from the moment that they register with you to the moment that you execute the replay. And guys, this took some rethinking about what webinars are. Right?
Yeah, and some dethinking.
That's exactly right. And here's one of the things that we're also very proud to talk to you about. It took some really cool engineering, so much so that we have several patent pendings on the technology that we're about to share with you today. So let's get into it.
The first feature is called the Studio Control Center.
Look at how pretty that is.
Yeah, this is really good. We're excited to share this with you. Everything you need to create and control every aspect of your webinar in one highly customizable interface. It's beautifully and logically designed. It's fully customizable, as you just saw that animation, meaning all the panes in there are drag and drop for some of the things that you think are the most important during your webinar.
So now here's what's really cool. We realize that webinars are sometimes becoming a tag team thing, meaning you're the performer, you're the talent, you're performing your webinar, and you might have a moderator. Well, wouldn't it be cool if we acknowledged that, but also acknowledged that you don't have to have a moderator to do this. So what we did was we made the Studio Control Center be able to exist in a tab right on your web browser. So you'd have tab number 1, which is your webinar environment, and tab number 2, which is your Studio Control Center, where you can control all kinds of things. Or guess what? You could log in from a laptop, or if you have a second screen, right, for your monitor, dual screens.
One for the live, one for all your aspects going on for chats and polls.
So like today we have Magic Dave, who has got his laptop open, and he's not even sucking up any bandwidth because he doesn't have the webinar area open, and he's just going there looking at stuff, you know, trying to figure out who we're going to pick on next, which you'll see in a second. Hope I didn't give anything away there. So here's the deal. The Studio Control Center reveals every new feature you need to give the best webinar possible all in one place. And that's really why we wanted to show you this first. This is going to be our jumping off point for this entire presentation. So as Mike said, everything happens in the Studio Control Center.
Okay, so check this out. You can view engagement and analytics. So basically what Webinarjam Studio does for you in this control center is it shows you the activity that's happening every 5 minutes. Now this is great. You can go back and you can see if you had a big drop off at one point, you can go back and see what happened at that point when you're looking at your replay and say, hey, you know, people don't like this story, or I'm being too technical.
Your partner Andy started speaking and all of a sudden they left.
Or Mike was stumbling on slides.
Little inside joke there for you, everybody.
It gives you a peak, which is good to know when you have maximum engagement, and it also lets you know sometimes maybe in 10 or 15 minutes, for whatever reason, people are starting to show up, so maybe...
an email go out late.
Yeah, you might want to maybe do a little bit of more intro at the beginning and start all the good points a little bit further. But you get all that stuff right in that part of the dashboard. But
so that's kind of cool, but let's talk about what's really cool here. So now you've got one dashboard to control your chats.
Control your chats and control your questions. You notice they're separated here. We're going to get into more details about that in the future, but I've always liked that when the chat room, you know, they're talking about all little things, and sometimes they just start to run. Having your questions isolated is great, especially for Q&A.
Like, for example, hey, where is everybody from? And it's like, you know, Tulsa, you know, blah, 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 Florida, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then somebody asks a question, And it's like it goes past you. Well, now when a user engages, they can list that as a question, and also you can turn that into a question. If you see something where somebody forgot to say this is a question, you turn that into a question, boom, it's in that one control panel, which is awesome.
Wait till you see what else is coming. Of course, you can control your polls and your surveys, and we also have a place for you to control all of your offers, where your price points, your images for your products, and
calls
the add
to
to cart
action
buttons, all those different things.
Now here's something that's cool. We're going to give it away a little bit, but you'll see it. We're going to talk about this in a second.
Yeah, you can preload some videos. We're going to show you how that works as well, but that's controlled here in your studio control center. And we have something called feedback flow. Trademark.
That's right, trademark. Thank you, John Reese.
Yeah. And that allows you to have live alerts show up in the webinar. But I'm getting ahead. Feedback flow, that's it right now.
All right, so let's use the Studio Control Center as a jumping off point to this next feature. We already hinted about it, and it's something that we called the video engine, trademark. And people asked, what's that? Well, look, we all know this, guys. On a good webinar, you're going to demonstrate, you're going to teach.
You're going to interact with your users, and of course, you're going to make an offer and sell.
That's exactly right. And so now, Webinarjam Studio's core functions already allow you to do that with your web camera, your presentation software, and screen sharing with your audience.
But there's never been a feature like the video engine in any webinar software. It's like your own personal on-demand TV studio.
And that's not a joke. Let's see how this is going to work for you guys.
Okay, you preload up to 5 videos. The videos are HD quality picture and CD quality sound. And use the most popular universal format known as MP4.
Right, so that's not a proprietary codec, right?
No.
That's not a proprietary video. Anything that's good for the web will be good for the video engine. And here's what happens. You just play on demand. You hit the play button of any one of those videos, and it starts playing, and then it gives you a little timer that lets you know how long that video is going to last. And of course, in order so that you don't, say something off color or funky or burp or whatever, it automatically mutes your mic and shuts off your web camera.
Yeah, this is important for hybrid webinars. You
Right.
want your microphone to mute and your picture to go off, because this is supposed to be a blend of your perfectly crafted presentation, so they actually think it's you continuing. And by loading this video, we're going to show you some examples of what you can do with that.
And when that video ends, it automatically, ka-ching, it goes back live when each video is done. So the first cool piece of technology that we had to literally innovate, and this is a patentable thing, is that it works perfectly in your replay. You see, YouTube, as you guys know, YouTube records your Hangout, which is part of the functionality that we use. Well, when you play back a video, right, as an uploaded video, it wouldn't record. Now, that's all gone. That works 100% perfect, which means you will have, well, that's another feature. We'll talk to you about that in a second. But here's the cool thing that we had to hack. This really took some clever engineering. It's now mobile friendly. And so here's what we mean. You know how on your iPhone, you've got to open up, when you watch a full screen video, you've got to open up a new browser. And then when you're done, you have to click the done button to go back. That's all gone. That's all gone. So now somebody can quite literally on their mobile device not have to switch different viewing modes, and they still get the full webinar experience.
Yeah, that took some good engineering by our team, and that's why we want to put some patents behind some of this
That's
stuff.
right. It's actually, we hacked the hardware abstraction layer. Crickets. So the deal is, guys, you can play back your videos instantly, and the question is, why would you want to do this? Well, Mike, let's talk about that.
Well, it allows you to give the highest quality demonstrations with no ums and ahs. You get your best sales offers and pitches edited with no mistakes.
That's, to me, is huge,
yeah,
right?
So let's talk about that. In fact, the truth is here. Yesterday, I wasn't in,
Mike was a little off, just a little bit off. He got sick and he took NyQuil the night before, and the NyQuil had not, I mean, he's a little guy. The NyQuil hadn't left his body yet, so he was still NyQuil'd out.
So imagine being able to do the perfect presentation the way you would do like a VSL or a video sales letter. Sometimes you double take on slides and you're going back and you get lost a little bit, you get stuck with the ums and ahs or whatever. This allows you to craft a perfect presentation, a perfect close, and a perfect demonstration of your software. You might want to embellish a little live feeling to it, but you know that every single time, if you're doing 2 webinars a week, you can get in, do your meet and greets, and
Perfect.
show a perfect
That's
presentation.
Right. Every one of your JVs that just send a bunch of traffic to your webinar, you can virtually guarantee them that it's going to be the same quality, high quality pitch and offer that you make. But here's another thing that's really cool. What about testimonials and social proof? It's one thing to do a screenshot. It's another thing to play back a video of somebody telling your attendees how completely, utterly awesome the product that they bought from you is. So that's super cool. But here's something else that we really like, and Mike and I, we do this once in a while. What about extended teaching, right? So, for example, you're on a webinar, maybe, and you're live, and you're right there interacting with your folks, but you want to show them something that maybe you did in your workshop, or you want to show them something that you had happen to you out on the road. Well, now you can bring those elements and incorporate them into your entire training experience and sales experience without having to, you know, walk around with your webcam. In fact, you couldn't do it. You just couldn't do this before.
I was talking with Russell Brunson today. They do weekly webinars for their members and then Q&A. He told me that what he likes about this the most is he's got to have somebody show up and say, let me show you all the features of ClickFunnels, and then we'll do a Q&A, and then that person can just let a perfect teaching presentation go, and then he can show back up live for Q&A.
Pretty good. This is really, Mike and I had this great idea to call something hybrid webinars, and then a couple other people decided to call it hybrid webinars too, and you know, we know where you live, man. But imagine this, guys. Imagine now your webinars are a live intro and Q&A at the end, but you've got pre-recorded training and a pitch. You see, what's awesome about that is, A, your training is always going to be top quality. I mean, you know, for you, those of you that are like in a relationship, you ever get like a nasty text message from your significant other? Well, guess what? Your webinar's blown if you look at that text message. Or you get like a nasty customer like, I hate you, you're a terrible person,
I'll tell you what happened. I was doing a webinar with Yannick Silver one day.
Yeah.
And as he was presenting, Steve Jobs died.
Oh, man.
And
Yannick couldn't speak.
No, and I had to interrupt and say, guys, I just want to, and as I said, I was like, why? But it was such big news. Had he had this going on, I couldn't have blown the webinar.
That's right. Another webinar ruined by Mike Filsaime. No, but so you've got this ability now to always deliver the best that you've ever delivered before. And this is really pretty awesome for training programs. A good friend of ours is in the middle of delivering a training program, and it's essentially pre-recorded stuff. And he was like, you know, if I had this, I would deliver that week's lesson, but then be there for Q&A afterwards, and it would just be so easy.
Which is all what people want. Actually, they want a good, concise training lessons, and
then
they want Q&A.
So and then they want Q&A. Yeah, so, you know, look, we believe that Webinarjam Studio is really about doing great marketing, but how cool is it to be able to use this as your mechanism for delivering your content as well? And so that was something that was part of the whole hybrid video and the video engine thing. Here's the deal, guys. It comes down to, how do you want your webinars to work? Do you want to do traditionally full screen live? Do you want to incorporate new pieces of content? Do you want to bring in social proof and testimonials? Do you want to be the kind of person that can offer the live webinar experience, but do it every single day, where all you're doing is answering and overcoming objections from your customers, knowing that the training you just gave and the pitch that you just gave was perfect? So now it's up to you. You're going to recognize a reoccurring theme in this webinar. It's about control. So with that said,
next, we've got a really cool piece of awesome. Remember how in the old technology webinars, when you made an offer, it would be non-interactive. There'd be no call to action button. People had to speak their links and say things like, here's a slide, go to marketinggenesis.com / special for friends of Brendan and
_.htm.
But they couldn't click on it. That was the thing. They couldn't even click. They had to leave the current presentation, open a separate tab, and lose sight of what was actually happening in the offer while they're typing in probably maybe even a wrong address.
That's right. And you guys know as well as I do that the first time you make the offer and present the value of it, you got to keep closing. You got to keep offering and stacking the value and talking about the bonuses. And so now what happens is every single slide after that has got to include that little call to action.
If you were lucky enough to remember that.
There you go.
Chat blows up, right? Where do we go to buy? And you got people wanting to buy and they can't even figure it out.
So with Webinarjam, we felt that pain because we were the guys that probably forgot to put the slide in when we started closing, right? We really offered the first truly interactive call to action button, and we called it active offers. And what that was, just by way of a reminder, was multiple fully controlled clickable call to action buttons that appeared right to your viewers with the
That's sexy. Right there. That inspires action.
This is where Andy has a discussion with the designers.
Look at Andy looking right down to that add to cart button.
Looking at that yeah, so, you know, with a cool, well, I don't know, with whatever, with an embarrassing picture. Well, with Webinarjam Studio, we are taking that up a notch. So let me ask you guys a question. What's really the aspect of live webinars that creates great conversion? We know it's because it's an event, right? It's a thing that's happening right there. And when the event and your offer are about to end, we know conversion increases because of?
Two things, urgency and scarcity.
That's right. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, we took a page right out of QVC, and we added two tools to increase both urgency and scarcity. The first one's called an active countdown timer. Now, you can create time urgency with total control, and as you can see there in the animation, when you're setting up your webinar, it allows you to set a little time up for, like, I want my urgency to be 15 minutes. Or
this offer will last for 15 minutes, right? And so it's not just about how long it's going to be displayed. It's about that now, when your users see it, there's a countdown timer.
You know what I also like about this? You can do your Q&A, whether it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes, but what I like is for two people, your user and yourself, you both know when the webinar is going to end. And having a clear end starts allowing you to drive your momentum and your cadence going. Guys, there's just 2 minutes
You get more excited.
left. We're down to the final minute, and then that lets you exit out and people start knowing that, hey, these offers are going away just like they do on QVC.
That's right. You're training them for future offers. Here's another one, and I got to hand this one to Mike, man. It's called Active Units Display. So basically, wouldn't it be cool if, let's say you're selling coaching and you know you can only sell 20 coaching slots, or you're selling your mastermind, you can only sell 20 of those. Wouldn't it be cool to show the number of units remaining in your offer?
Or if you had a bonus and you say the first 20 people to take advantage of this get an hour coaching with me as a bonus.
That's right. So again, guys, you have total control. And now that's not just a throwaway phrase. What we mean by that is that you can do this in an automated way or a manual way. So check this out. You can add a Webinarjam code snippet to the thank you page, and guess what that will do? That can automatically update the number of units you have left.
In real time.
In real time. Now, but check this out. This is something Mike and I were talking about. Some people may not have control of that thank you page. Maybe it's on a shopping cart that's like a HTTPS, or maybe they're even doing it for an affiliate offer, right? So now here's something else you can do. We decided to offer you manual updating of that. So tell them how this works, Mike.
Well, so here you would have, you can monitor your shopping cart and update the units remaining manually, as you see there from the text. But basically you see a little red button right there where you can start dropping the units down as you see the sales going in.
That's right. So when we're sitting there and you know we're part of an affiliate offer and we start getting those emails, you have created a sale, you have created a sale, you have created a sale. We can just click the down button, letting people know that the amount of units left is getting lower and lower.
And it's a great way to seed the first 2 or 3 sales. Sometimes just to start things going, you might just want to pop 2 out there to just
pop them out, y'all.
Just to get that momentum going.
That's right. So the fact is, we know that scarcity works. We all know that scarcity works. We see now in product launches that the biggest day is not the first day; it's the last day. We know urgency creates action. So imagine how much more engaged your prospects will be when they can see specifics on that incredible offer and the positive effect it'll have on your sales conversions.
Yeah, that feature, guys, is so strong. I think it can increase conversions by 10 to 20% by being able to have the countdown timer and a scarcity unit display happening at the same time. And if you put the amount of webinars that you did last year, or what you're planning on doing this year, and multiply it by 10 or 20% increase in sales.
That's some good money.
That helps your advertising, it helps your affiliates get more affiliates. That's a great feature.
So obviously we've been excited about all the events, but we're very excited about this next one, and specifically because we can't wait to see what you guys do with it. You're always surprising us. This is a great one. It's a whole new level of engagement with webinars in Webinarjam Studio. And again, this is a little bit stolen from some of the things that Mike and I do when we're doing live broadcasts. So a lot of people are hung up on claiming credibility in marketing, right? Credibility, 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 social proof, blah, 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 blah. And so we know that it works, though. We asked ourselves. I'm sorry. No, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so we asked ourselves, what's the best way to earn credibility? So here's something we incorporated into Webinarjam Studio. You're going to love it. It's called feedback flow.
We have a good friend, John Reese, when we have this written down on our whiteboard, right, in our office, and whenever he sees it, he walks around going, feedback flow.
Yeah, we originally called them live alerts, and we're going to explain how feedback flow works right here.
Okay, so here's how this works, guys. Now, let's just say that you've got a Q&A going. What if you were able to display with a click of a button somebody's question? So, for example, your attendee sees the question, John asks, do you take PayPal? And we're not just talking about over there in the chat, we're talking about right on the screen. Wouldn't that be cool? You know what else would be cool? If you actually answered it and said yes.
Yeah, right on the screen.
That's right.
But that's not all. Because of this new display technology, Webinarjam Studio also does social proof. Here's how it works.
Yeah, let's actually show you what we mean here.
Okay.
Go
ahead, Andy. Go ahead.
Sorry, we're just sorry. So with a click, you can promote any feedback in your chat to the audience display. Watch this, guys. So you've got something over there in your chat, and all of a sudden now it appears to your viewers. So for example, and Mike and I happen to see this all the time, Andy and Mike, I've purchased all of your products, and this is the best offer yet. Wouldn't that be cool, that feedback, wouldn't that be cool if it flowed into your presentation?
For social proof, that's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your moderator can display any feedback flow text at any time like this. Live event will be in Austin on Friday, June 10th.
So now you're overcoming an objection about when part of your offer is going to take place.
Or, yeah, guys, the replay will be available in your members area Monday morning.
And every now and then, if you've got a smart aleck moderator like we have with Dave, Magic Dave, he might see something that you say that's clever. And, you know, Andy just said best way to succeed is be prepared for small failures. The point is, it continues to engage these people with the substance of the event, of the thing as it's happening right now.
You can put hashtags in there. I got to tell you, I watch a lot of different shows, and like I'm seeing them do it now in shows, like I'm watching The Voice. And they're showing these live tweets that, Blake and Adam Levine are actually saying when they lose a contestant to the other person. And it just shows that social proof and feedback that people like to see that's happening from the audience.
Right, so it's not just questions. You can display anything. That means you could actually say, from Twitter, you should see this webinar that's going on right now.
Reminder, sale ends tonight at midnight.
Awesome,
you know?
Yeah. But here's the thing. We're kind of going even further than that. So do you remember that little bit of code we talked about with the active units scarcity display? The one that you would put on your thank you pages? Well, if you can do that, what do you think we can do for you with Webinarjam? Mike?
Well, now when someone buys your offer, Webinarjam Studio knows that, and they can put this little thing up there with a champagne glass, and it tells your customers that somebody just bought, and it puts their name there. So that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty awesome.
That's cool. So now, as you're, check it out. Check out all the things, the layers we got going on. You've got the timer. You've got the units counting down. And what's happening is your customers, your prospects are seeing that other people are taking action, and you're going into feedback flow and bringing up some of the moments from your best customers and great questions.
Yeah, and in your chat, all of the people that purchase get moved up to the top, and they get a little green icon right next to them, so you know who your buyers are, and that's going to come in a few minutes. We're going to show you how that works really well too.
And we think that that is how you earn credibility, right? You do it with some proof, and you do it with proof that's happening right before everybody's eyes. Now, this is all part of an amazing new feature set of Webinarjam Studio, and we think it's really cool. And as you can see, we've done a lot of things. It meant that we're not the first to the market with webinar software, and Mike and I thought that that was fine. We didn't want to rush things because it took us just a little longer to get it perfect. And what we always kept our eye on was Webinarjam's architecture that supported your #1 goal. And the goal for us is always to make sure that you can create the most profitable webinars from superior technology. Now, check this out. This next feature, ironically, might create the most profit.
But it's not about your live webinar.
Ooh. So what's that mean, Mike?
Well, earlier we talked about some of the milestones that Webinarjam has achieved in a short period of time. Here's one that really raised our eyebrows. Remember, we said 176,291 webinar replays were done with Webinarjam 1.0.
So that milestone is super important. Obviously, because it's a big fat number and we like to talk about it, but also the fact is money, and a lot of it, is being made during replays. So in our development process, we asked ourselves, how can we give more control to Webinarjam Studio users? How can we make webinar replays more like a live webinar?
Well, I got to tell you, our beta testers were really excited about this, and we continue to get people calling us all the time.
Yeah, going, oh, dude, right.
It's called Replica Replay.
So bear with us here, guys. The way that this feature came to be was kind of actually roundabout, but check this out. So this is, again, our studio control center. You see some fancy analytics there, but look down in the lower right-hand corner. It's called, you see that little download chat button? Well, why would you want to do that? And look, we don't want you to get too excited. This is really cool. Why would you want to download the chat button?
Well, lots of reasons, but the main one is so that you or your staff can go back and find ways to improve your next webinar or find an opportunity to close more sales that may have been missed on the webinar when it was live.
But here's the thing, that little feature actually came to be because of Replica Replay. We actually built that first, and then we said, well, if we can do that, we can also do this. So let's talk about what Replica Replay is all about.
Our goal with Replica Replay was to help you recreate the same excitement an attendee gets when they attend a live webinar. Now, where does that excitement come from? Well, community, of course.
Of course,
right.
That's right. I mean, when people are a part of an event, they get super stoked to see that other people are experiencing the same thing with them. It's like, you know what? Movies generally tend to be better, that much better, or that much worse, depending on the crowd that you're with when you go to a theater.
Or the amount of people in the theater, right? I've seen movies by myself, and you know, if it's a comedy, it's just not as funny.
You're like, well, I'm a real loser in a movie that nobody wants to go see, and I'm not laughing. But here's the thing, we know that community and interaction and engagement actually lifts the excitement and the mind share of the entire presentation.
It's an event, exactly.
That's right. So now with Replica Replay, a webinar replay can now incorporate the live chat community exactly as it took place during the live webinar. But that's not all. This is about creating a replica of your live event. So here's what else Replica Replay can include.
It can include the video engine, so that means all of the videos that took place will happen at the exact same time. Your engagement displays, so things like, Andy, you're great, and the questions, all those different things, the comments that people had are all happening exactly as it happened. The buyer announcements, when people were buying, are going to tick up there for you.
That's right. Everything that happened with feedback flow, right, when you were promoting their questions from chat or their social proof into the lower third of your actual live video, as well as your active offers. All of those things now will happen according to a precise timing that took place in your presentation.
So when your add to cart button was meant to appear right when you gave the price, and then the timer saying how many, how much time is left, how many units are left, all that is gonna take place. Now you got to remember, previous replays, if you were lucky to record them, would just give you a video. And then you had to make a page, but there was no chat or anything like that. This allows your person to see it exactly as it took place the first time.
That's right, including that community chat. And so what we did was we took that chat, we recorded that chat during your presentation, and when you do a Replica Replay, it's now perfectly synced and plays back with your presentation. Pretty good. I think it was pretty good.
Down to the millisecond. I was really excited when we added that.
That's right. So obviously we're jumping ahead, but here's something else that we know now that we have Replica Replay in place can really make a difference in creating more income from you. So like anything else unlike anything else on the market, you know how when you go to a webinar with most software, And if the webinar's already been played, guess what? It's like, wah, wah,
Yeah,
wah,
you don't even get the
sorry.
registration page. They just give you a link that says this webinar has expired.
Yeah.
Wasted traffic.
Wasted traffic. Not us, guys. No more lost traffic or dead links, because what we do now is if you have a replica replay or any kind of replay in place, is that we let them register.
Mm-hmm. Building your list.
That's right. And then we send them to the replica replay. But listen, that's not all of Webinarjam Studio offers with replica replays. Remember, this is about control, 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 control.
Okay, so let's say you want to edit your webinar before you issue the replay. Well, no problem. You just tell Webinarjam where your edited video is, and it will use that video instead. And it will still present your edited replay in Webinarjam Studio webinar environment.
That's right. So if you want to cut out some ums and ahs, or maybe replace it with a better pitch,
or you had a bad demo, and
yeah,
maybe the demo didn't work. You know, because sometimes that happens and you want to redo a good demo. Now you got a flawless webinar.
Boom. And of course, guys, we give you even more control. So let's say that you don't want that to take place in a simulated webinar environment. We allow you to send that traffic and put that webinar replay anywhere with the redirect function.
And I'll show you where that's good. Let's say you have a paid program, and you simply want to embed that into the members area. So you would just redirect that to the login page with instructions to log in and watch the video.
Yeah, boom. So maybe you want to put it on your blog to capture some more people. You want to put it on your website, your members area. All those things are useful. And here's something that's great. No matter what option you choose, Webinarjam gives you what? Control, that's right. So we've got an awesome follow-up system, and using Webinarjam Studio's email follow-up system, you can now target people based on what they did during your webinar.
Or didn't do.
Or didn't do. So for example, you can have attendees who didn't buy, you send them a specific message. Attendees who did not attend, send them a specific message. Attendees who attended, send them a specific message. Attendees who didn't buy but attended, send them a specific message. Bam. So now you can customize what it is that you are communicating to your marketplace. Now, that kind of prospect segmentation comes from the fact that Webinarjam Studio has detailed analytics. So here you can see everything that it tracks. And get close to your monitor there. Guys, every behavior, we know what's going on, and we then attribute that behavior to an attendee by IP address. So we really give you the ability to dig in deep and communicate with your customers based on exactly what they did.
Yeah, now that kind of control lets you custom tailor your message to get the most effective response.
Yeah, control, control, control. So in my opinion, there's no doubt that Webinarjam Studio is the most powerful webinar marketing software that money can buy. And with Studio, we wanted to take the benefits of your hard work even further, meaning, listen, I'm starting to build up a little sweat here. You and I worked on this presentation for a while. We sent a lot of emails to our very, very precious customer list. You put a lot of work into doing webinars, so you really want to make sure, once you've delivered a great one, you want to be able to maximize that value in the future, right? So the answer is yes. Yes? All right, so that means that we're excited to do something. This is a whole new concept, and this is the brainchild of Mike. So Mike, take it away.
We want to introduce to you something called Jams on Demand. So no longer when your webinar is done does it have to live in a box or in a cemetery.
That's right, or behind a firewall somewhere.
With Jams on Demand, you'll have a brand new stream of traffic, a growing tribe of customers who love learning and buying from webinars. All right, you simply check one box in your Studio control panel, as you see right there, and when your webinar configuration is completed, your upcoming webinar is added to what we call the Jams on Demand marketplace.
That's right. So now it's not just your registration page that's going to grab you traffic. Anyone browsing through this marketplace can register for your webinar.
And we're going to feature that at the homepage of Webinarjam.
That's right. That's exactly right. And of course, Mike and I are going to be doing our own deals with certain media outlets, because webinars are awesome content to get this Jams on Demand marketplace out far and wide. But that's not all.
We know that just having your recorded webinar on YouTube can get you great quality and quantities of traffic as well.
Yeah, so check this out. This is just, we literally went and grabbed one of our YouTube videos on our YouTube channel there, and you'll see that these YouTube videos are getting almost half of their traffic from YouTube searches, right? So between YouTube suggested videos and actual searches there, 50% of the traffic is coming to those videos. So as you guys already know, every time you do a webinar with Webinarjam, you have the option of having that recorded webinar automatically appear in YouTube's library. Now what we're doing is we're taking that a step further.
Okay, so your webinar replays can also be part of the Jams on Demand marketplace.
That's right. So your replays, not just your live ones, but your replays, which could live forever.
Yeah, and here's how it looks. All right, now you've got a continuous way to capture new registrants for your live webinars that are upcoming, and an always-on replay offer to generate new sales and profit once it lives as a replay.
Now, some of you might be saying, hey, look, I use webinars to teach, and that's cool. So if you use Webinarjam Studio for coaching or training or for the delivering of your consulting service or your IP, you can always click a button that will keep that jam session private.
If it's paid content, but if you want to just use it as almost like an SEO article or video you'd put on YouTube, then you'd want it there. It's kind of like having your own SlideShare out there where people can find you as a good teacher, and you have branded slides so they can find you.
And we did this because we know how important it is to have a solid and steady stream of new prospects to grow your business. And that's also why we didn't stop on just the organic side of things and just, yes, Mike and I will do the promotion of it. Yes, we're going to make sure that this becomes a destination, like a portal for great content, a library for great content. But we also want to make sure that there's another opportunity to drive traffic here.
It's called Jams on Demand Marketplace for the replays, and we've made it easy for your affiliates to quickly ask you to promote your webinars and replays. So underneath the watch button, we've made that bigger because we want people to watch, but there is also a little link that you see right there for affiliates.
Right. So the whole idea here is easy, simple, and powerful is the goal. That's why right on the live webinar watch link is a link that will let affiliates apply for your affiliate program. So obviously, just like ClickBank, people are going to be scrolling through these webinars, maybe even watching them to educate themselves, and they might say, dude, this is a fantastic pitch. It's a fantastic offer. Can I promote it? Well, guess what? They don't have to go search you out. They don't have to go find you. They click a button, bam, it takes them to your affiliate sign-up page, and then you guys can exchange.
Yeah, so you make your JV page with a video telling people about your great content and how to sign up for your affiliate program. You link it right to that little word that says affiliate. We tell you what is the page, and you're all set.
So that's Webinarjam Studio. It offers deep control with detailed analytics so you can improve your marketing strategies, real multimedia integration so you can create the highest converting offers possible, and really intimate engagement on every level with your audience.
An offer experience that inspires action, and replica replays that extend your sales by reaching a wider audience, and total control of everything before, during, and after your promotion. And as you just saw, a new marketplace to help you get even more traffic and qualified traffic.
Plus, everything about Webinarjam Studio has been optimized. Full motion, high definition video with high fidelity sound, a growing library. We didn't even mention this. Again, we don't have all the time in the world, but we've got a whole bunch of awesome newly designed registration pages, and we're adding more every day. Easy to use, email, SMS, and yes, wait for it, a voice follow-up system.
You get one-click sign up, multiple language capabilities. You could do paid webinar registrations as well, and of course, there's no coding or any HTML required, and as always, you have unlimited registrants and unlimited attendees.
Now, we've just shared a handful of the features with you, and we can guarantee you that when we shared other features and had more time with some other, beta users, they all said this is a lot more than we thought this upgrade would be. We thought it'd be just, I don't know, sexier interface. So those features were the ones we're really most excited to share with you today. Trust us, there's a lot more, except
there's one more thing. Trademark Steve.
Yes, trademark Steve Jobs, that's right.
We love Steve.
We do. Look, we got to be upfront with you here. Seriously. During its development, we made a really tough decision about a feature to not include in the original Webinarjam. Because here's the thing, it was a tough call because our competitor actually had this feature and we didn't. But the thing is, it was by choice.
We're talking about telephone dial-in. Look, it's called POTS.
POTS.
POTS. Plain old telephone service. And even the name's a little bit ugly.
It really is. I'm sure that people probably regretted making that up.
So we've decided not to include plain old television service because when we set out to create the most reliable and powerful webinar platform in the world, we were not trying to create the best radio platform in the world.
And truthfully, back in the day, we got some initial, air quotes, questions about that decision. We had some people that came at us pretty strongly and said, look, man, if people can't call in on their phone, how are they going to listen to the webinar? Well, it's because most of the time there was nothing to watch, so they could have probably saved money, and a lot of money, by using a teleconferencing service.
Yeah, or they could have used their phone and watched the presentation, but they couldn't get in and be an active participant on the call and talk.
Right, that's kind of like watching one of those slideshow things. But here's the thing, guys, this has paid off for us because we know that webinar attendees want to see video and hear good sounding audio. We knew that. And also, as you know, sometimes saying no to something gives you freedom because you don't have to focus on that old technology. It gives you the freedom and the flexibility to focus on something else and to find ways to use that focus, that time where you're not developing crap, like POTS, and use it to enrich your customers. And that's exactly what happened with this next Webinarjam Studio feature.
And it's called Attendee Spotlight, and it's just great.
Now, check this out, guys. Remember when we said this was about your own personal broadcast studio? We weren't kidding here. You can now invite any of your webinar attendees to instantly become a guest, a host, or a presenter in your webinar at any time.
With their camera as well.
That's right. So all of a sudden, boom, you see them, you hear them. Now, as always, Mike and I always say, why would you want to do this? We always ask, why would you want to do this? Well, here's our reason.
You can ask your buyers to tell you why they purchased your offer.
Boom.
I mean, that's great. They can use their microphone, share their screen, or even activate the webcam and appear live to all your attendees. This is great. Like you see this, you see this all the time with just voice. But imagine, like on QVC,
yeah,
they talk to the
they call in, right?
So now imagine having a person that looks like this guy in this next slide, telling you why he maybe purchased 3 months ago and telling everybody why they need to buy now, or what just happened on the webinar. There he says, once you guys showed me Attendee Spotlight, I had to buy. I can't imagine the things I'm going to be able to do with this thing.
Right, so they come in, you just ask them to share their experiences, and you know what? You ask them to share their concept about why they bought. What was their motivating desire to take action? Because sometimes that's all your attendees need, is to see what, not the superstar is doing, but what every other person is doing. So this is also pretty cool, and we're definitely going to exploit this year. Let's say you see a friend, right? Or a celebrity, or maybe a known personality in your industry on your webinar, because we see that all the time, right? Hey, there's Frank, or there's Brendan, or something like that. Now, you can invite them with a few words and then add them to the actual presentation. So let's think about all the things that you could use for this.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing for Q&A, coaching, hands-on training, guest appearances, as we just said, or demonstrations, doing hot seats.
Love this part.
Love this one.
Love this one.
Because we actually do this with our Genesis Labs customers, and it wasn't easy for us to do this now.
Yeah. We had to have them call in on Skype.
Give them a Skype link to click to get into the Hangout. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, now basically, we do site reviews, right? So they show us they literally press a button. Hey, it's Joe, presses a button, here's my squeeze page, and we're like, oh, wait a minute, oh my, and then we, coach them, put them on the hot seat, and then when we're done, we send them away. But also, again, start thinking about Webinarjam Studio as your personal broadcast studio. You also can use this as a vehicle to collect testimonials.
Yeah, this one is strong. Look, We showed you before with the video engine how you can play a testimonial. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody gave you at a live event.
Yeah.
But here's what I want you to think that happens. When you're a good speaker and you're at a live event, you see some of your customers and you say, hey, Andy, I'm going to be doing my presentation. I know you're in my coaching program. I'm going to pick on about 3 or 4 of my students. So if you can please stay in the audience and I'm going to call on you. And then that guy has the microphone go out and say, guys, I just want to let you know my business was here before I started working with Jim. 1 year with working with Jim, I'm now here. You'd be crazy not to get started with him. Thank you.
And by the way, I paid twice as much.
Right, exactly.
These are the things that we see.
So when we shared this with Russell Brunson, he because he does this on stage.
He might have grown old, like 1 month. So now he looks 19.
He's knocking on the door for the beta every single day. He knows how he's going to be able to use this, knowing the customers that are in there. You can even invite your customers to the webinar and then tell them to raise their hand at the appropriate time and bring them right in.
So this is really hard to do, though. No, just kidding. See, here's the thing. You can completely do this on the fly because they don't need a special link. You just click on their name in the chat roll. That means you don't need to know in advance who you're going to pick. That means if somebody shows up late, like, you know, Lord, none of our friends are ever late for their stuff. So you don't need to know who in advance you're going to pick. And once they do click that button, they don't need to configure any special settings. It literally is like 2 clicks and they're in. So the point is, you just do it and it just works.
Yeah, nothing pre-configured. And if you don't know, maybe if some of the customers, you can just say something off the cuff. Like, and if you happen to have bought this product in the past, just click raise your hand. We'd love to know why.
Right, it
just
seriously,
works.
It's this simple. You can invite them or they raise their hands. You literally press a button to accept. They get a little confirmation that basically is just a warning to like put some pants on, that their microphone and their camera's about to go live, and then they show up. And here's the nice thing, you're not stuck with these people. Maybe maybe they're drinking, you got them on for a little while, you're like, oh no, Frank's gone off the deep end. So when you're done, you just click.
As they say in the news when they've got to get somebody off, they say, and we're going to have to leave it right there. And you hit,
boom.
And as Hector calls it, the eject button. I said,
Yeah.
Hector, I don't think we
I think we experimented with having a hook,
Yeah.
like from the
stage,
Gong
yeah.
show. Yeah, exactly.
It's just that simple, guys.
That's exactly right. I mean, think about it, guys. Isn't that incredible? What are all of the possibilities you could have here interviewing your prospects? Your prospects, like seriously, diving into your presentation and asking them specific questions and giving them specific answers to their objections. Imagine how much authority and trust this will earn when you're in there mixing it up with your people.
And let the power of Attendee Spotlight help you let others close more sales for you.
Because closing sales is a lot of work. If you can get a group of people who know, like, and trust you.
About this feature.
Right? I mean, because our customers they're crazy. They're cool and they love us or they hate us, but they're still customers. But we'll go get the crazy fun ones and they will help us grow our business.
I'm going to say one more thing on that. It's easy for you and me to do webinars. We've always spoken about the dynamic of sometimes saying, I think I'm running out of what I'm going to say. I'm going to close, turn it over to my partner. Sometimes having that dynamic of being able to pull people into your webinar allows your brain to reset and reshift as they're talking and then
they're
get
like
back
a catalyst, right?
Yeah.
They give you a couple of really cool points and you're like, I want to expand on those points. And guess what? You keep giving more and more and more value, which we all know is about sales. So for real this time, that is Webinarjam Studio. Guys, we believe it is the biggest leap in webinar technology yet. So big that it is still a crime to call them just webinars. And we had mentioned this earlier, but this is the truth. We had this vision back in late 2013. We wanted to get Webinarjam 1.0 out, but we wanted to base this on the awesome ideas that we get when we're in our studio, the studio that we're in right now, and we have a $50,000 piece of hardware and software called a New Tech TriCaster, which does all of our fancy camera switching, so when we're making content, we can do that. Well, guess what? We wanted you to have that same power in your browser for a ridiculously low price. So this is designed to deliver network broadcast features for you. Now, look at that thing. Looks a little complicated, right? We never lost sight of the goal. We wanted you to have these amazing tools, but we wanted them to be simple so that you could do them every time, so that you could repeat it and use it for every webinar that you do. And we wanted you to see the possibility now of using Webinarjam Studio as a way to make all your content. You want to make a quick YouTube video, right, just to go get some traffic? Do a webinar jam, a jam session with Webinarjam, and you've got all the ability now to put up your titles and to bring new people on. It's just so easy. It really is become your very own personal broadcast studio for your TV station.
And you can create any channel you want.